Just when you thought you were out, we pull you back in. Welcome to The Sweat. I'm Emerson Lotzia, rolling solo on the desk, but not in the studio. You'll see some pretty faces coming up soon. We got a little bit of this, a little bit of that on the menu this evening. Real-life regular season hockey is back. There's an American League Wild Card game to talk about, and dudes who can roll a good meatball. But let's get cooking with some NFL high or low. Good evening to our panel. DraftKings contributor Julian, the bagel boss Edlow, and that's boss with two money signs as the S's.
Correct.
The fantasy girl Rosalie Michaels, and Jerry Dunabedian of Roto Wire. Nailed the name, didn't even need Jesse here. She's on her gold plane in Italy. Jerry, tomorrow night's game, Rams at Seahawks. Seattle is favored by 1.5 points as the home team. Is that spread too high or too low?
I view this as more of a pick-em. I think if you had told us last week, I think we would have thought the Rams maybe would have been like a 1 or 2 point favorite. Not saying we should ignore last weekend's results. It was a little alarming to see what Jameis Winston and Chris Godwin did to the Rams defense. But the Rams were the much better team last season. They were the much better team through 3 weeks. If you look at these teams, they're both 3-1. I think they're 1 point off in terms of point differential, 1 place off in terms of DVOA. And the Rams have faced a much tougher schedule. They've actually played, both teams have played the Saints, but apart from that, Seahawks have played the Cardinals, the Bengals, and the Steelers. So the Rams have actually had to face some real teams, and I think maybe that's obscuring the fact that they're still a little bit ahead of Seattle.
Rosalie, is the right team even favored?
Yeah, I agree with him. I think that the Rams should be favored here. Everything that he said was dead on. And if you look at the history between the two teams under Sean McVay has had their numbers. So I think that that's going to happen again this time.
Okay, in the past 5 games between these two teams, the Seahawks 4-1 against the spread, Jules.
Yeah, I do think that this game probably would have been a pick 'em if the Rams didn't look so bad last Sunday. So I think that's probably the appropriate spread here. However, Seattle in the Pete Carroll era, 18-3-1 in primetime games. This is generally, and really good at home on Thursday nights also. So this is generally a really good spot for them. I think that Seattle minus 1.5 is a pretty fair line. I was just expecting it to come out more of a pick-em, even though the Rams looked really bad last week. They still are viewed in the eyes of bettors, I think, as one of, if not the best team in the NFC. But that said, I think that Seattle is the right side of this one, just at home on the short week against a divisional opponent.
Rosalie, the Eagles hosting the Jets this week, just shy of being a 2-touchdown favorite at 13.5 points. That spread too high or too low in your eyes?
Yeah, it's a little, I think it's too high considering that the Patriots were 17.5 point favorites over the Jets 2 weeks ago, right? So I think it's a little high. I think this game's going to be a little bit closer. The only problem is you got to figure out how are the Jets going to score any points. And I think you got to look to their defense to do that. They do have 3 defensive touchdowns on the year, and they can do that against Philly. So I think it's a little too high. Obviously, you like Philly in this game, but 13.5 points, I think it's going to be a little bit closer than that. Philly can score points, but the Jets' defense has been pretty decent against the run, so they're really going to have to air it out.
All right, Jules, I'm seeing some reports. Sam Darnold may give it a go Sunday.
Yeah, he's a good swing in this spread, probably worth a few points at least. So we can't necessarily answer this for sure until we know Darnold's status probably, but as the Jets currently stand, I got to lean with Philly here. I think 14 would be the right number. So getting the hook on the right side of 2 touchdowns with Philly at home, I think that's where I would go here. The Jets' defense is solid, but you got to go with the Eagles' offense here at home, especially what we saw them do in Green Bay on that Thursday night game. The only thing that's concerning to me here is that the Jets are coming off a bye, so they've had a little bit of extra time to prepare. But the Eagles did have that game in Green Bay on Thursday night in Week 4, so they're going to have 10 days to prepare for this game themselves. So it's not really too far off. The real thing here is going to be, can the Jets score? Like Rosalie said, Philadelphia's defense obviously is not the New England defense that it faced in their last game in Week 3. But the way that they've been moving the ball has just been so bad. I think this is the type of game that I think getting 2 touchdowns with Philly, if you can cover the spread with a 14-point Philly win, I like being on that side.
All right, but Jerry, the Eagles 0-2 against the spread at home this season. You a little nervous here?
No, I mean, I agree with that. You're like, it's in the right range, but I think the number should be 14 or 14 and a half. It seemed a little instinctively, I was kind of like, the Eagles haven't shown us being the type of team so far that would ever be favored by 2 touchdowns. But you look at the injuries they had weeks 2 and 3. I mean, they were basically down to Nelson Aguilar, and Zach Ertz was their entire passing game. And then they got Jeffrey back last week, got Goddard back, actually healthy, not just playing 10 snaps last week, and went into Green Bay and beat what's at least a decent Packers team. The Jets, like, even if Sam Darnold plays, like, he's going to need a nap at halftime. He's 3 weeks into having mono. They're talking about working his cardio back. Like, it sounds like he's going to miss another week, really, to me. And if he does play, he's going to have not been practicing much. He might have some issues with fatigue or muscle weakness. It's just, and Luke Falk is the other option. I think it's just a mess there. I don't see how they're going to score more than 2 touchdowns. And we know the Eagles are going to put up points.
Okay, Bagel Boss, the Giants have won 2 straight. Now 5.5-point home underdogs to the Vikings. Too high or too low?
I think this number should be about 6 or 6.5 for the Vikings. Earlier in the week, my lean was kind of with the Giants, but I think I was overreacting too much to just how bad Minnesota was against Chicago. Give Chicago's defense some credit there. In this spot, I think the Giants are a little bit between what we've seen the last couple weeks and what they were the first 2 weeks. The big difference is obviously getting Daniel Jones in there in place of Eli Manning. But Daniel Jones wasn't anything special against a really bad Washington defense last week. It was just that Washington's offense was so bad, New York's defense was a little better, limited Washington to 3 points in that game. I think when we get Minnesota out there, assuming everything's okay with Stephon Diggs, Adam Thielen, we've got all the trade rumors, this game's going to be about Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook's going to be featured for Minnesota and be the pulse of that offense. But if Minnesota needs to throw, they're going to be facing a really bad Giants secondary that it should be able to take advantage of, even with Kirk Cousins, a guy that generally plays better against bad teams with 2 really good receivers. I think that Minnesota can find a way to win this game by 6 or 7 points on the road.
Do you think the same thing here, Jerry?
No, I think the number's too high, actually. In terms of talent, the Vikings, just looking, if you go position by position on the rosters, the Vikings have a huge advantage over the Giants. But philosophically right now, like, the Vikings are totally married to this inefficient approach of, like, we're just going to run the ball and we're going to keep running the ball. We don't care about the matchup. We don't care if it's working. And they're going to, as long as they stay doing that, they're going to find themselves losing some games that they probably should win, or at least in games that are closer than they should be. And if you look at the Giants, their biggest weakness is their pass defense. And the Vikings probably aren't going to take advantage of that, or at least not until if they fall behind. So if you can't throw the ball in the modern NFL, I don't think I can take you as a 5.5-point road favorite, even against a team like the Giants that has a really weak defense.
All right, this spread too high or too low, Rosalie?
I think it's pretty close to being right on. They keep talking about, the Giants defense has been traditionally bad. That's what we're used to seeing out of them. Last week, though, we saw Janoris Jenkins take a little bit of a step forward. He had 2 interceptions of the 4 interceptions that were made there. Plus he tipped another one that was intercepted as well. So we're seeing a little bit of a change in the Giants defense. Let's not forget that Kirk Cousins has looked like, not great.
Yeah. There's that video. There's that video that's resurfaced that he,
that is great.
Almost screwed up his gender reveal when he had to simply throw and hit something
right at the feet of the boxes.
Yeah, had hit a target 5 feet away. Could barely do it.
Exactly. So, I think this is going to be a little bit closer. Yeah, the Giants, they've been scoring a lot of points once Daniel Jones came in, but it was up against defenses that give up a lot of points. So it's going to be an interesting game. But I think that the spread is just about right. I think that the Minnesota Vikings do win because they'll run Dalvin Cook a lot and be able to control the pace of the game. But I think it's going to be 21-17 Minnesota in this one.
Okay. Jerry, farewell, my sweet chinchilla. Rosalie and Julian, we'll look at some Week 5 prop bets with you coming up. But first, if you're gearing up for some DFS hockey on DraftKings, please pay attention.
What's going on, DK family? Alex Shankowski, Ben Zwyman here to talk about changes to DFS hockey. NHL season starting off this week, and DraftKings has made a bunch of changes, all for the better. Higher scoring structure overall. You got captain's pick now in Showdown, and you even got bonuses for things like block shots, a certain amount of saves in the game, overall shots in the game. So Ben, when you look at all these changes, which one stands out to you as the biggest one and the most impactful one?
I think all the bonuses to forwards, well, not so much forwards, but just the point bonuses and the shots on goal and the block shots bonuses really stand out because it's going to elevate the scoring for forwards and centers for the most part. Defensemen and goalies doesn't really change too much. If you look at the goalie changes, the max for a 35 save shutout is 18 points. A lot of the times forwards, if they get 3 points, you get a bonus. If you get 5 shots on goal, you get a bonus. If you get 3 block shots, you get a bonus. A lot of those centers are going to be able to reach those thresholds, and that's really going to boost them a lot, especially with the hat trick bonus. So I think for DFS purposes, you're not going to see too much change in defenseman and goalie, but definitely you're going to want to stack a lot of those high-priced centers, a lot of those high-priced forwards, and those scoring forwards.
So how is that maybe going to change your overall strategy when you're looking at, filling out your lineup? Are you still stacking the way you normally would? You still selecting goalies the way you normally would?
I think so. If anything, it changes the goalie strategy a little bit just because they don't have as high a ceiling as some of the other players, because before the changes, you could see goalies reach anywhere from 10 to 12 points if they put up a big shutout or get a win. Now, they're sort of capped unless they have an absolutely big performance, but you're never going to see a goalie get more than, say, 20, 22 points in a game. You're going to see forwards reach that mark a lot, especially if guys are getting hat tricks, 3-point performances. So I don't think it changes too much as far as stacking. You're still going to use the same strategies, the same correlations. Maybe you're going to look, instead of paying up at defensemen, you're going to look for a lot of guys in the mid-range, guys that are going to have high shots plus blocks percentages, right? Because you want those shots bonuses, the blocks bonuses. So I don't think it changes too much. It just makes things a lot more exciting because you're seeing higher scoring totals.
Yes, scoring equals good. It's going to do it here. He's Ben Zwyman. I'm Alex Shankowski. Good luck out there.
The Rays and A's meet in Oakland tonight for the right to face the Astros in the ALDS. And here to deliver the showdown picks for this wild card throwdown is DraftKings contributors Pierce Dietrich and Steve Buchanan. And first, a strategy question here. Do you have to approach this showdown contest differently because it's a do-or-die wild card scenario? Steven?
I don't really think so. Last night with the Nationals and the Brewers, we kind of heard chirps that, Steven Strasburg might be the first one out of the bullpen if Max Scherzer was running into trouble because, quite frankly, Max Scherzer has not looked good really since he's come off the injured list the whole month of September, and we started again last night. Not much of that going into this one, so I think you just kind of treat this as a normal showdown slate. The only thing is, though, if any of these pitchers get into trouble, they'll probably be yanked a lot quicker than normal. So that's kind of in play here. So, it might be something to consider when you're, looking at a captain. It's probably safer to go with a bat, even though I'm going to be taking a pitcher in my captain spot. But I think overall, this is just a slate you can just treat as normal.
Pierce, how are you treating this game, this contest?
Yeah, we don't have to get as crazy as we thought it was going to be last night. We should see a regular outing from both these pitchers. But as Steve mentioned, there could be a short leash, and we could see a cavalcade of relievers coming in on both sides with matchups happening that way. And I guess my change would be don't work yourself weary trying to find the perfect matchup with the batters. There's not going to be a good matchup, and we could see a lot of relief pitchers coming in. So if you're trying to find the best platoon splits, you might be wasting your time.
Okay, how about a captain? Who you got in your spot? Pierce.
I would go with Charlie Morton. I know last night taking Scherzer in the captain spot didn't work out, so hopefully people will say, well, it didn't work out last night, so we're not going to take the starting pitcher. He is really expensive, but you know what? The bats aren't very cheap either, and they're in really bad spots. So I don't like taking the hitters here. You go with the surefire thing. You're going to get at least 6 innings out of him. He projects to have 7 strikeouts. We've seen the over-under drop down to 7 runs now. So, if this was a normal slate, you're getting Charlie Morton a 7 over-under, then you got to be excited. He's a Cy Young contender. He's got 22 fantasy points over 4 of his last 5. That's the direction I would go with.
Yeah, Steven, he's averaging almost 22 DK fantasy points in his 33 starts this season.
Yeah, I like on the other side of the ball here with Sean Manaea. The Rays have just not been a strong team against left-handed pitching. There's a 319 WOBA, 169 isolated power on the year, and they have the 3rd highest K percentage in the league against lefties at 25.1%. Look, Manaea's only pitched in 5 games so far this season, but since he's come back from the injured list, he has looked absolutely phenomenal. 3.98 xFIP, 27.5 K percentage. I think he's going to give the Rays fits in this game. So I think Manaea is the way to go here. I think this is just going to be a pitcher's duel to begin with. We talked about it on the Panel B podcast. There's a little plug right there with Julie and Alex about how we both, we all think that this game is going to hit the under. There's no need to complain. We're all.
I'm not complaining. Julian's sitting in the studio and he's making weird gestures with his hand because he's celebrating you plugging your podcast.
Yeah, I mean, he's actually the worst part of the show. So Alex and I talked about how we like the under in this game, but I think that's nice. I think the under is going to be the way to go, and this is going to be a pitching-heavy game tonight.
Okay, so who are you going to stack with Manaea?
So I'm going to go with the closer Hendricks. If you think the Athletics are going to win this game, which I think is I've kind of landed on here. Hendricks makes the most sense. He had 8 saves in the month of September, and you go through his game log for the entire season. He never gave up more than 2 runs the entire season in one outing. I mean, he's really been lights out. He's not really somebody you heard about either. He's got some really good strikeout potential as well, over a 13 K9 on the year. So if you're feeling good about the Athletics, you want to go with some type of game flow here, he makes a lot of sense to pair with Manaea in the captain spot. Okay,
Pierce, who are you going to pair up with Morton in your captain spot?
I'm going with Yandy Diaz, and I know it's risky to take him coming back from injury. In his 1 game back from injury, he did have hard contact in his at-bats, but he's got versus left-handed pitching, 270 ISO. Manaea doesn't give up a lot of home runs, but he gives up enough, and there really isn't any good matchups on paper to really trust here. I mean, you go at the very least with Diaz, he's hitting at the top of the line. If you're going to get 4 or 5 at-bats out of him, and really we're just playing the home run lottery, trying to predict which guy hits a home run, and Diaz would be the guy that I go with.
Okay, so who are you going with then, Pierce, for a value play? Maybe you have more than one. I don't know. You tell me.
Travis d'Arnaud would probably be the guy that I would go with against left-handed pitching over 276 ISO. Again, we mentioned the Manaea. You want to take the platoon advantage and try to get the home run. If you want to get super cute with it, and I don't think it's that crazy to do. AJ Puck he has a chance to come in. Obviously, you can't afford the premier left-handed pitcher coming out of the bullpen, but Puck, if he gets in there, can get you 2 or 3 strikeouts and save you a ton of money. Very cute. It's very extreme. But if you want to be different on a slate where there's not a lot of players to pick from, he would be a place to go.
Yeah, that's not bad. On DK Playbook here, it says he's hit 10 of his 16 home runs against Southpaws. Nice one, Pierce. Steve, do you have a nice value selection for us?
It's not hard for Pierce to make a good pick when you have 15 total players to choose from. So, I mean, congrats for Pierce on the small pick.
Hey, be nice to him.
Never.
What the hell does it
Never going to happen. Never going to happen. I was waiting for it.
I play the heel on this show, okay? I ain't nice to anybody. Chris Davis is going to be the one for me here. He's total boomer bust, but that's what you're really looking for on these showdown slates. You're looking for those big, fantasy output numbers. He sucked all year long. There's no other way to put it. Other than the 10 home runs that he hit all year long, he never reached double digits in any other month this season. But he still had a 183 isolated power in the month of September, 45.5 hard hit rate. So at least he's making good contact. They just haven't gone the way. He's been pretty unlucky this season. So, he's very, very cheap. He's down in the order. There's really no good value here. So might as well take the bat who can park one out of the yard.
Steve, Pierce, thank you. Steve, do you want to say goodbye to Julian?
No.
Sounds good.
Suck.
We've got Reed and Jeff here for some PGA bets right after Pat Mayo takes us inside the Steelers running back situation.
I do want to talk about Waiver Wire just very briefly. I moved Jalen Samuels up to number 1 in my Waiver Wire pickup rankings. I'm not quite sure what his role looks like if James Conner is fully healthy and getting the majority of the snaps and touches. Do you think this Wildcat stuff and the passing game influence is actually for real?
I think it does, but I don't think it's going to be used to that degree. I don't think we're going to see him attempt 3 passes every single game. Honestly, if he attempted no passes at all this week, it wouldn't surprise me. But I think the biggest thing is seeing him get those rushes, the direct snaps, the Wildcat from that aspect of things. It's something we have to look at. This is a completely different offense. There's an offense built for Mason Rudolph, which is check downs, keep it short, keep it simple, keep it easy. And basically out of that game, Conner and Samuels ended up being his top 2 wide receivers. So I think that going forward, Samuels has standalone value, even if Conner's out there, almost similar to Austin Eckler with Melvin Gordon, similar to Danny Woodhead from way years ago with Ryan Matthews with the San Diego Chargers. So I think that Samuels is somebody that you have to add no matter what. Obviously, we'd see a huge increase if James Conner was out, but I think this is what the Steelers have to do. I don't like it, and I don't think there's a lot of players and fans out there that don't like it in general, but I think this is what the Steelers are planning to do to try and get the best from Mason Rudolph.
Does this mean that Juju is not a top 10 receiver? Is he a top 20 receiver still?
I think he's now in the wide receiver 2 conversation for sure. The biggest thing is he's not going to be force-fed the ball. He wasn't even this third in targets and wasn't even number 1 for the real wide receivers. It was Deontay Johnson. So going forward, we know Juju Smith-Schuster has the talent, and this has nothing to do with people being too high on him because nobody expected Ben Roethlisberger to get hurt this early or in general, but going forward for his ability to be able to overcome defense was a concern. And now you have a concern of Mason Rudolph at quarterback, and he's just going to keep it to the short game. You want Juju Smith-Schuster to have a little bit more time to develop some routes. His big play ability is something you like here. And granted, Deontay Johnson's touchdown is a big play, but the point being is the routes that are being run, I think that's why we have to downgrade Smith-Schuster. Although I would still try and buy low, similar to Mike Evans' 2 quiet first weeks. I don't think he's completely off the radar of being startable, but he's definitely not in the wide receiver 1 conversation anymore.
If you had the number 1 waiver priority in your league and you needed a running back, are you using it on Jalen Samuels?
I think you have to. If it's similar to the Wayne Gallman thing, if you need a running back, if you need somebody, you have to. At worst case scenario, James Conner still out there, still starting, and then go back to what we said is that you still probably have low-end RB2 value in half and full point PPR, but Jalen Samuels is just using as much as he is in the game now.
Yeah, and if there's some sort of unforeseen circumstance where Connor misses a few games, I don't actually expect him to miss on Sunday, but we'll update it as the week goes along. But if Connor was out, where would you rank him? Would you rank him top 10?
I don't know, quite top 10. He would be right on the fringe of the RB1 conversation off the top of my head. Obviously, you know how I do. I like the projections do the initial work, but I got to think he would come into that conversation around your favorite player, Leonard Fournette, like Todd Gurley range. I think he'd be in that conversation.
Okay. Welcome back to The Sweat, where I now present you with our gorgeous golf gurus. Hello to DK contributors Reed T. Fowler and Jeff Ulrich. Good to see you, Jeff. What are you eating?
Absolutely nothing. I'm eating air.
That must be why you're so thin and handsome. It's PGA for better or worse. Should odds for the following golfers be better or worse for the Shriners Hospitals for Children? Reed, I'll start with you because I believe this tournament is in Las Vegas and that's where your father lives. Bryson DeChambeau plus 1,700, better or worse? What do you think?
I was going to start off this segment by saying that now we actually have some real analysis here, some hard-hitting analysis, but no. Jeff opens it up with saying he's eating air.
Yeah, it's okay, dude. That's my boy, dude. That's what he delivers.
Bryson, no, it's not a bad number at plus 1,700. I mean, we talked about it earlier in the week that this tournament, while it has better players and the field is stronger, it's still not that strong. We have the number 1 coming back, right, with Brooks Koepka. But Bryson, we saw towards the beginning of that tournament last week where he was, playing into form. We saw a 64 out of Bryson in round 2, and then over the weekend, he kind of fell apart. So at plus 1,700, I'm going to stay away. Adam Scott is someone that I mentioned earlier that I really like at this same number. Just sets up more. Is more conducive to this setup as opposed to Bryson. So at plus 1,700, staying away should be. I mean, it's not going to get any better than this, and it shouldn't get any worse because of his talent. But so I'm just going to pivot off of him.
Jeff, hit me with that hard-hitting analysis about Bryson DeChambeau's. Oh, thank you. What is that?
Is it better?
Yeah, that is better. I love when you eat and talk to me about Bryson DeChambeau's odds.
Chocolate granola bar, Reed. Okay, is that hard-hitting enough for you, buddy?
I was trying to give you a compliment. God.
Look, Bryson is
swallow. There.
It's pretty interesting. I mean, look, obviously he won the event last year, but coming in, he changed all the shafts in his irons. And when you get a nerdy guy like Bryson DeChambeau gets really excited about something like that, talking about them in the press conference today, oh, the spin rate is amazing, consistency. The guy's full of confidence. I mean, seriously, I'm not even being facetious. I kind of like the spot for him. At the very least, I would much rather roster Bryson DeChambeau this week, or I'm sorry, bet him for an outright than Hideki, Adam Scott, guys who could not putt well enough to win this tournament. Bryson can putt. He's got this fancy new equipment. Oh, I like it.
Okay. You like the odds here for Webb Simpson plus 2,000. Jeffrey?
I don't mind Webb. I mean, Webb is the guy I would still rather go to him over like Finau or Scott or Hideki, because Webb can actually putt. I mean, top 10 strokes gained putting. Absolutely loves this event. Won it like 5 or 6 years ago. He's finished in the top 10 multiple times. Always plays it. And he's a player who's searching for that win, right? I mean, he had the big players win. He had a really good season last year, multiple top 10s in the majors, but never got across the finish line. So I get why people would be scared off of Webb. He hasn't played yet in the fall season, but like I said, at the other players in his range at the 22 or 2,000, Matsuyama, Scott, Finau, I would take Webb because this venue is perfect for a guy like Webb Simpson. He just nails his approaches and can actually putt. So
yeah, Reed, he's won here before, right?
Yeah, I think back in 2013, and Jeff mentioned it. I mean, Webb Simpson is really a course for horse type of guy, and whether it's not the Wyndham Championship, he likes it. He likes it at this course, at Summerlin. He doesn't need distance off the tee. I mean, his off the tee game last season or in the FedEx Cup playoffs was really bad, but over time, he's been one of the guys who keeps it in the fairway. And really, Webb's changed his entire game. Before the anchor putter, he was a really bad putter, and the anchor putter came along, and he was really good. And then obviously they banned it. So he's a guy that's got his putting down right now. His ball striking is there. I'm not too worried about him not playing yet because he's the type of guy that with that ball striking and to what Jeff was saying, his putting, he can really get into any. And he can get into contention on this type of course. And so absolutely at plus 2,000, he's a bet that I like.
All right, should Colin Morikawa's odds be better or worse than plus 2,800? Reed?
Yeah, this one's tough. I'd like him a little better for us, so a little higher, but you're not really going to get it, right? He's one of those rookies right now that he's hitting the ball well enough. He's playing in these marquee tournaments. He's already won once at the 2019 Barracuda Championship. So he's a guy that is playing extremely well. We've seen him win. And so he's not going to get any better than this for us. What you do like about Morikawa is his ball striking since that win, or just over time since he's been playing, it's been fantastic. For the last 2 tournaments that he's played, it's been fantastic. His putting can get a little bit better, and his off-the-tee game is a little shaky as of recent. But what you like about him, what you liked last week, is that he saved a lot of those par putts that were around that 5 to 10 foot range. He saved a lot of them, and that's not necessarily going to show up on the stat sheet, but he's a guy that's tough as nails. And so plus 2,800, I don't mind it because he's a guy that's hungry. He's a rookie that's hungry to want to win, but I'd go somewhere else.
Okay, I believe he's coming off the top 15 here at the Safeway, Jeffrey.
Yeah, second in approaches last week. I mean, he didn't putt that well last week, but again, I mean, this is a young player. The other thing about Morikawa this week, I mean, his only other win came at altitude in this same state that we're playing in this week. So there's a little bit of symmetry there, and I think there's something about that. If you don't like betting those top guys, or you just want someone with a little bit longer odds than Bryson or Webb, Morikawa is probably the player I would land at. I mean, you got Gary Woodland and Neiman hanging around here, but Neiman's off the win. Woodland hasn't played yet. I would lean Morikawa in that group. Again, it's kind of preference where you want to start a betting card or whatever. I don't mind going with one of those lower guys we talked about, but Morikawa is certainly someone I definitely had on my list this week. It's just a matter of preference. I think the odds for Morikawa certainly don't need to be shorter to bet him here. So the odds are good. He's set up well. It's just a little bit deeper tournament, so you can't speak to him as like, oh, the for sure winner. But he's someone I would not be shocked it gets in the mix this week.
All right, let's go straight to Slate Approved pick here. A little DFS flavor. Who is your must roster, Jeff?
I'm going to go with Cam Smith. Coming off a missed cut, but he's only 8,000. That's the main reason why I really like him. He's played well at altitude over his career. He's got a top 10. This course really sets up for a guy with good iron and pretty straight off the tee. So I like Cam Smith here.
What do you think, Fowler?
I like Scotty Scheffler. I think it's a rookie that's been playing extremely well. He was a stud on the Korn Ferry Tour, so I like Scheffler here.
I like both of you guys, and you two will be back to wrap up the show. It's some NFL prop bets. What is going on with my stinking throat today? But first, it's opening night in the NHL, so let's see who Ben and Chris are rostering right after Panel B discusses some of the underdogs on the Week 5 NFL slate.
Which of these 4 teams do you think is most likely to win their game? We have the Buccaneers, plus 3.5 on the road against the Saints, Jaguars at Panthers, Packers at Cowboys, Browns at 49ers.
I think the Buccaneers, just because the Saints have been leaning so heavily on Kamara. And from what we've seen so far, their run defense is legit. Like, we saw that weird game from McCaffrey. I'm like, oh, maybe it was just like a weird week for him. But when other teams have been coming in, they've just absolutely stifled them. Like, the 49ers had 100 rushing yards against them since. Then we have the Panthers, Giants, Rams, 37, 23, 30. That's what we have for rushing yards against them. Now, Julian will go in, the score. But they've just done. They haven't allowed anything on the ground.
Because what does the score mean? I think
because when I was talking about the rushing
like the Bucs
yards
a lot too,
that they were allowed. I was waiting for you to come in and be like, "Oh, well, they were up so high."
Well, but they did it to Christian McCaffrey. They did it to Saquon Barkley before he got hurt.
They were up so high.
Well, but they did it to Christian McCaffrey. They did it to Saquon Barkley before he got hurt.
Hey there, it's Brendan Glasheen, and with your DraftKings Fantasy Flash, good news for the winless Jets. Their franchise quarterback has returned to practice. Sam Darnold's missed the last 2 games with mono, which often causes fatigue, so he still hasn't been cleared for contact. His cardio activity, however, has increased. Coach Adam Gase said, "I like our odds better than they've been," and he also said things are progressing in the right direction. Jets will prepare for both Darnold and Luke Falk to handle the offense Sunday at the Eagles. They could give it till Sunday morning to make an official call. And can you blame Gase if he waits until the very last minute? Darnold provides hope for a first victory, and maybe, just maybe, the season won't be entirely lost if Darnold plays and helps the Jets eke out a win. Gase had to deal with Ryan Tannehill and backups in Miami, and we saw how that worked out. He lost his gig in South Beach because he didn't win enough, point blank, and that seemed fair. He knows jobs could be on the line, as far-fetched as that sounds. It's his first year. The Jets just better not screw up their future by throwing Darnold into what is a developing dumpster fire.
Game on! It's time for some top shelf chatter. The side of dirty dangles. Let the meat wagons roar. The NHL regular season is here, and to help you build a successful roster on DraftKings, it's DK Live's Ben Wyman. Keep it together, Ben. I know you said you have a cough, so if you have to cough, please mute your microphone before you do so, okay?
Yep, you got it, man. I totally know how to do that.
Before we have you choose between the top options at each position in a segment we like to call NHL Opening Faceoff, I'd like to remind the millions of you watching at home that there have been some changes to scoring in hockey. Ben actually referenced it earlier in this show, but I'm going to remind you again. The overall point values have been ratcheted up, but also now give you bonuses for, like 5 or more shots, like 3+ blocks, 3 or more points, 35+ saves for goalies, plus a couple other tweaks. I mean, real quick, Ben, you like these changes? I mean, you're here, let's talk.
Yeah, I mean, I like the changes overall. It doesn't really alter your strategy too much. Maybe you're looking at a lot of the top price studs a little bit more just because of all those bonuses, but really everything's weighted pretty evenly. The goal is overall to get the scoring up and make it a little bit more exciting with more points on the board. I think that's what we're trying to accomplish here, and I'm all for more points, you know me.
Yeah, dude, more points, more fun, am I right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Right. Let's start at center here. 3 options over 7,500 at center. Yes, McDavid, Matthews, Tavares. Which one do you like best, or are you actually brave enough to kind of fade all of them?
I am not brave enough to fade all of them. I think the clear options are Austin Matthews and John Tavares on the Maple Leafs. They have the cupcake matchup against the Senators, who shouldn't be very good this season. They're at home. The Leafs have the highest implied goal total on the slate, so those are your 2 chalk guys. McDavid, I don't mind, just because if a lot of people are on the Leafs, then maybe McDavid's ownership is down a bit, and obviously he has one of the highest ceilings of anyone in the NHL. But I'm sort of down on the Oilers. McDavid's wings are James Neal, who hasn't been the real deal since 2012. And a guy named Joakim Nygard, who no one has heard of before. Obviously, he played over in the Swedish Elite League, hasn't played an NHL game. So yeah, a lot of question marks surrounding the Oilers, and the Canucks are a lot better this season, so I think that matchup is a little bit tougher. So I think if you're looking at chalk plays, Austin Matthews, John Tavares, pretty clear plays. Maybe I fade McDavid, but again, tread lightly there. He can go off in any scenario.
I'd like to take a trip over to the wings and things section here. Ovechkin is head and shoulders above the rest at 8K, but just below him, you got a foursome between 6,600 and 7K. You got Leon Draisaitl of Edmonton. I mean, Vegas is Mark Stone. Blue Sniper Vladimir Tarasenko, and Toronto's Mitch Marner. Who's the best choice out of that group? Good luck.
Yeah, it's a tough group to pick from. I like Tarasenko a lot at home with the Blues raising the cup banner tonight. Mitch Marner, I talked about the Leafs before, but I'm looking at Mark Stone of the Golden Knights. He's in a very good spot here tonight. You can actually pair him with Cody Glass, who's going to be centering that second line. He's at 2,800. And even if Glass struggles, Glass is a rookie. So if Glass struggles, we could see Mark Stone taking more draws at center. We could see them promoting someone from the third line onto that second line with Max Pacioretty. Stone's a guy that's going to skate in all situations. He's going to see a lot of ice time. He's going to be on that first power play for the Golden Knights. I don't really like the Sharks that much this season. They don't have Evander Kane. They lost Joe Pavelski to free agency. Martin Jones had a very off year in net last year. And these are sort of the trends with Pete DeBoer teams. He kind of regresses season to season. So I see the Sharks on the road. I think this is a good spot for the Golden Knights, and I think Mark Stone is a perfect guy to spend up for.
All right, well, right now, we're spending like my wife at Nordstrom, so can you save me some money on the blue line?
I don't know if I can. I like
come on, please.
I like to spend a lot of money. I like to spend a lot of money in Nordstrom too.
Yeah,
I guess if you were looking at anyone, I really like Justin Falk. He just got traded to the Blues recently. He's going to be skating on that top pairing with Alex Pietrangelo and on the first power play, which has great correlation. The Capitals are coming on the road. Like I said, cup banner raising for the Blues. They're going to be really jacked up for that. I like them at home. The Capitals are without Evgeny Kuznetsov. He's suspended right now. So they're moving Lars Eller up on the second line. Lars Eller's a good defensive forward, but the Caps overall lack depth at center. So I think that's a good spot to take advantage of the Blues power play. Ryan O'Reilly and Dave Perron are on the second line, also on the power play with those two defensemen. Both of them are pretty affordable, so Justin Falk I like a lot. If I'm looking at someone else, Quinn Hughes of the Canucks, rookie, stud, brother of Jack Hughes, also like him at 4,000.
Okay, that leaves us with goalies here, my friend, and there are higher priced options in Toronto and Vegas, but we're presenting you with a choice between the last two Stanley Cup winning backstops, okay?
Okay.
Good.
Okay.
Jordan Binnington, 7,800 as the Blues open their title defense against the Caps, who will start Braden Holtby, and a $7,700 price tag. Who do you like in that matchup?
Yeah, I kind of like both of these guys. I think this game, out of all four of the games tonight, has a decent chance of going under their goals total. I think it'll be obviously two teams that have won the Cup recently. It should be tight. It should be playoff hockey. I'll lean Binnington only because the Blues, again, raising the Cup banner. Really, levels are all jacked up. Binnington at home last season was 14-2 in 18 appearances. That's not too shabby, and both of his peripherals were pretty high. Save percentage and goals against average. So yeah, I lean the home goalies in this scenario. So I think either option. Maybe Holtby's decent in GPPs because his ownership will be down a little bit. So yeah, I like Binnington though.
Okay, we got a 4-game slate here on opening night. So who is your slate-approved pick? I mean, the guy you got to have on your roster.
I think it's Austin Matthews. I think the Leafs are going to go to the Cup this season. I wouldn't be too afraid of the ownership in this case. The Leafs should pour it on the Sens at home in the opener. I think Austin Matthews has the highest ceiling of anyone on the slate. His price is actually pretty good. And again, with the bonuses, you're looking at a guy with high shot volumes. Matthews should get a lot of shots off. He has a chance at a hat trick tonight. The Senators, again, should be one of the bottom 5 teams in the league. They should let up a lot of goals tonight. So yeah, I think AM34 is in a great spot, and he's the guy that you should be locking in your lineup.
All right, so besides that Capitals-Blues game, which of the other 3 gets you really juiced up?
I'm excited for Sharks Golden Knights. I think that could we could sneakily see a lot of goals in that game. Two teams that have fought in the playoffs recently. The Knights are going to look to go back to the Cup after they lost to the Capitals 2 seasons ago. So yeah, I see both of those playoff teams. You're going to get the playoff atmosphere there. The other 2 games maybe not so much, just because the Senators are lackluster and the Canucks and Oilers not really much there. So I think Vegas and San Jose tonight is the other game that I'd be looking forward to.
Ben Zwyman of DK Live, remind everyone at home your Twitter handle one more time, please.
That would be SlateBreaker DFS.
And your Instagram name?
I think it's Zen_Bwyman.
Okay, cool.
If you're into that kind of thing. I don't know. I don't post too much on the gram, but yeah, if you're looking for out off the wall kind of content, yeah, go there.
Okay, I like it. Stay weird, Ben Zwyman. I
You know
like you,
it.
man. Okay, I'll talk to you later. Love when your face talks hockey to us.
See you, man.
We got NFL prop bets right after my conversation with Nick Eatman of DallasCowboys.com.
What up? I'm Brendan Glasheen, in with your DraftKings Fantasy Flash. Vikings rank second last in passing offense, third to last in passing touchdowns, just 3 through 4 weeks. So it makes all the sense in the world that Adam Thielen is frustrated with Kirk Cousins. In response to Thielen's "you have to be able to throw the ball" comment, Cousins actually apologized to his star wideout on a weekly radio spot. There's too many opportunities where we could have hit him on Sunday. And post-game, when I talk to the media, this is Cousins, I always say until I watch the film, it's hard for me to really give you a straight answer. I've watched the film, and the reality is there were opportunities for him. Cousins also went on to say Thielen is one of the best players in the world. Some might think this is weak on Cousins' part. Did he have to really issue a public apology? Probably not, but he certainly didn't take a shot or point the finger back Thielen's way. No QB wide receiver drama here. This should not come to light. Cousins put it to bed. See OBJ, Eli Manning. The quarterback just shrugged his shoulders and didn't make a big deal about anything, one way or the other. How about Ben Roethlisberger and Antonio Brown? Big Ben didn't do himself any favors in his radio guest spots. Remember that? Cousins took the long-term approach, made sure everyone knew it was on him. But if it doesn't get better Sunday at the Giants and beyond, public apologies won't help him any longer. And with all that guaranteed money, Thielen likely realizes Cousins ain't going anywhere.
Hopping on with us now, Nick Eatman. He covers the Cowboys for DallasCowboys.com. Nick, your boys scoring at least 30 points in each of the first 3 weeks, all wins. However, just 10 last weekend and a narrow loss to New Orleans. So what was the big difference against the Saints?
Well, I think that it starts with that Cowboys offense. They just didn't have as much success, and it started up front. You know, we've seen this offensive line just kind of push people around, and that wasn't the case with the Saints. Their defense had a great game, and their secondary did a nice job on Amari Cooper and those guys to really, prevent any kind of passing lanes. It just was a very uncomfortable day for Dak and that entire offense. And so it's just not something we had seen. The Saints, knowing that they were limited on their offensive end, their defense really stepped up. And like you said, very close game, came down to the end, and the Saints were better.
But you're still sitting pretty here at 3-1. So what's your biggest takeaway from the first quarter of the season?
That they beat up on teams that aren't very good.
Good.
And it's going to get tougher. Obviously Aaron Rodgers and the Packers coming in. I do think that the depth of the offensive line, the depth of the defensive line and the wide receiver, that they missed Michael Gallup more than I thought they would. Those receivers just really didn't get open that well. So I think when they start getting some of these guys back this week, it'll help. Now, no one's feeling sorry for them. I mean, they lost a game to a team without Drew Brees. So, I mean, that happens. But I do think that they start getting some of their players back, that you'll see this team with a lot more depth.
Could Gallup play this week? I mean, what do you think some reasonable expectations are for him if he does suit up?
I think he will play. I mean, he's been practicing. He practiced today, and he looked pretty good. And he sounded like he was very confident in playing. And the Cowboys are optimistic with that. And I don't think they'd put him out there if he wasn't going to have that same type of impact and role. So I think you'll see him start, and I think that'll be a big impact to help with Amari Cooper, and obviously let Randall Cobb work the inside in the middle.
Hey, how concerned are you with kind of pressuring Aaron Rodgers this week with this defense?
Well, they got good pressure last week.
Yeah, they did. They looked good against Teddy Bridgewater, for sure.
Yeah, they got some pressure, but, Rodgers is, he's just a different level. He's not afraid of any throw. And unlike, guys we've seen, those gunslinger types, he doesn't throw interceptions either, which is pretty good. Usually when you have a guy that's very aggressive, he'll throw picks, but Aaron's not that way, and so he's had a lot of success against the Cowboys over his career, and it's been well documented just how much pain he's caused Cowboys fans, and so you can pressure him all you want to, and he still comes up and makes these great plays, and so they recognize that. They're I think the Cowboys will be ready for it, but even if Devontae Adams doesn't play for Green Bay, I still think that Aaron is so good that those guys will be difference makers. So they have to be ready for it. Like you said, it's got to come pressure from all ends, and it helps that Robert Quinn is rushing off the edge like he is.
Are you trying to add some zeros to your DK account balance for free? It's easy when you enter the Pepsi Zero Sugar Live Prediction Challenge on DraftKings. All you have to do is make predictions about what will happen each football Sunday of the regular season. Simply zero in on the right answer to 8 questions each week, and you'll climb the leaderboard, giving you a shot at $5,000 in weekly prizes split amongst those who get all the questions correct. You can even win a trip to the big game if you finish at the top of the season-long leaderboard. Just answer our pop quiz questions like, how many touchdowns will the Dallas quarterback throw in the first half? We'll give you 3 multiple-choice answers to choose from. Make the right call, and you'll get 1 point. Plus, be sure to look out for the Pepsi Zero Sugar question of the week. This is an extra sweet question that's worth double the points when answered correctly. So don't let your Sundays go flat. Get in the game with the free Pepsi Zero Sugar Live Prediction Challenge, exclusively on DraftKings.
Okay. We're wrapping up the show with some NFL prop bets you can find on the DK Sportsbook. Hello to DraftKings contributors Reed Fowler, Julian the Bagel Boss Edlow, who says he is going to yell a lot in this segment, Jeff Ulrich, and the Fantasy Girl, Rosalie Michaels. Ladies first, Rosalie. The Colts are 10.5-point underdogs in KC. The Chiefs are clearly an elite offense, but their defense, it gives up points. Plus 138 odds for the Colts to score the first touchdown of the game. Is that big enough to tempt you to actually make that play?
No, simply because of one man. Am I frozen?
No, not anymore. You are unfrozen.
Here I am.
Yeah, you are.
Simply because of one man, Patrick Mahomes. You know what? It's just, you can't bet against him. And if they have the ball first, they're going to score first. So, Indy gives up 2.3 passing touchdowns per game. KC gives up 1.8. So just going with the odds here, I think that Mahomes has the better shot at scoring the first touchdown. So it's not big enough to tempt me to make that bet.
Jules, I know you. You are definitely tempted.
I can be tempted into anything at the right number. This is not the right number to bet on this Jacoby Brissett-led offense going into a really tough building to play in an Arrowhead in Kansas City on Sunday Night Football. And the Chiefs are coming off, while the Colts aren't doing that great themselves, the Chiefs are coming off, a win, but not a great-looking win in Detroit. So they'll be looking to smooth out their offense in this game at home. I would just need a bigger number than this to bet on Indy to score first.
This the right number for you, Jeffrey?
First of all, calm down, Julian. No need to yell.
Yeah, dude. He is.
There was nothing to get too worked up about there, but we'll get there hopefully.
Can I just say something real quick? He has been in an awful mood all day today.
Yeah.
All day.
I can second that.
Get him a bagel or something. I don't know.
I had one too.
It's a puppy.
Boston. All right. What are we talking about? The Colts? No,
yeah, dude.
The Colts to score first. The Colts feel like they may be headed down the drain here. They got injury issues. Marlon Mack, T.Y. Hilton, their best 2 offensive players, are questionable. I can't even imagine betting this if one or both or don't play in this game. So, again, Julian just mentioned it. Arrowhead is a tougher place to play. The Kansas City Chiefs defense has a history of showing up even when it's bad when they're at home games. So, first primetime game, I kind of expect the Colts to get blown out here, quite frankly.
Reed, your thoughts on these odds here, man? Can the Colts score first, the first touchdown of the game?
Oh, is that what it means to score first? Yeah.
Well, yeah. Actually score first could mean a field goal. You know what I mean? Come on, at me, bro.
Look, these guys laid it out pretty nicely. Like the Colts, the Kansas City Chiefs, 50% they allow a scoring position or scoring plays when it comes out. So their defense isn't that bad. They do give up a lot of points. I think DFS, their defense is someone to target as well, just because of how much points that their offense puts up. And Rosalie mentioned it at the top that Kansas City, 56% of their drives end in a score. So if the Colts get the ball first and they win the toss, which they probably usually defer, most teams do, then the Colts have, or the Chiefs have a really good shot. They're number 1 in the league in terms of how often they score on the offensive drives. The Colts aren't that bad. They're at 40%. That ranks 11th in the league. But it's a toss-up. And to Julian's point, and he makes some good ones at seldom times, this number is just not that high. So, no, not a good bet.
Jules, you're probably just boiling inside, aren't you? Little
I just want him to
bagel?
yell.
Steam is coming out of my ears, Emerson.
Well, good. This question's for you,
Great.
Bagel Boss. The Patriots are 15-point favorites in Washington, but you can get plus 390 odds here for the Redskins to be winning after the first quarter. Not the whole game here, just the first quarter. You jumping on this one, little Bagel Bite?
I would love some debate here, but does anybody think that Washington's going to have a lead at any point in this game? Probably not. So, no, I will pass on this bet. But guess what? I'll give you plenty of bets. I'll take the Patriots to lead after the first quarter. Halftime, full game, 15.5 points. I'll take all those spreads. I'll take Washington's team total under 13.5 points. There's 4 bets right there, none of which include the Redskins leading in this game.
I believe Coach Gruden said today, too, he doesn't even have a plan for his quarterback.
I'm sure he does have a plan. It's probably to start Colt McCoy, who comes in and throws 3 interceptions. Then maybe they go to Dwayne Haskins to throw a couple. Who knows?
Yeah, that's awesome. Jeff, go ahead, bud.
I'm kind of interested in this. It's plus.
Oh, yes! All right, now I'll yell.
This is a pretty big odds we're getting. This isn't like just plus 100 or plus 130 like the other bet. This is big time. We're just talking about one quarter. What does Washington have to do? Do like a 5-minute drive, get a field goal? Oh, by the way, one reason why I actually do kind of like this bet, Gostkowski's out. The Patriots don't have a kicker, so
that's great for the Patriots.
We're only talking about one quarter. We're not talking about Washington winning the game. I'm sure the Patriots will probably blow them out like 20-0 in the second half. But again, I could see at these odds being interested in this. Not necessarily something I'd play, but on the other side, I mean, minus 210 for just the Patriots to lead after the first quarter. Like I said, so many things can happen just on one drive in the first quarter where it sucks up so much time that I actually don't hate this at plus 390 for Washington.
Oh, I knew I could count on you, Ulrich. Reed, can I count on you? You love this. I can feel the energy.
I mean, Jeff, come on. Come on.
Well, I
get it. It's true. I get it.
The kicker has missed a field goal and 4 extra points. He's cost them 7 points already this season.
You know what? He's no longer on my fantasy team.
Here we go.
That's great, Emerson. Nobody cares about your fantasy team. Look, the Patriots offense has improved with the roster moves they've made today.
I guess we understand where Julian stands on the kicker.
And he cost me the spread last weekend in Buffalo.
There it is.
That makes me angry.
There he is.
It's always
back.
about Julian. It always comes back to being about the Bagel Boss. But going back to this bet, give me the tie at plus 400, more so than Washington at this bet, even if it's a good number. You just look at the numbers here. New England, number 1 in first quarter scoring, average, 10 points. The Washington Redskins, 3.5. I think they're at 21st in the league. And the defense, New England's defense is number 1 in first quarter defense, only allowing 0.8 points in the first quarter. If this is, let's say if this was the Los Angeles Rams who only had like 6 points total in their first quarters in the first 4 games, maybe. But it's the Patriots, man. This defense is humming. And just this offense, and Julian talked about a bad offense in Kansas City. Talk about the Patriots. They did not look good against Buffalo. They're going to come out, no way.
Ooh, Rosalie, how juicy are these odds in your eyes?
Yeah, the guys have already said everything. My point being, what Reed just said, is that the Patriots allow 0 points in the first quarter, and the Redskins are not going to change that up for them. The only reason to make this bet is if you have too much money and just need to throw it away.
Okay.
I do have that problem.
That. Yeah, I'm sure you do, buddy.
Like me and Julian are like, nope, not a problem here.
You could buy more granola bars, Jeff.
Rookie move, Ulrich.
As we discussed earlier, the Eagles are big favorites over the Jets. The game touchdown total is set at 5.5. Can the Jets do enough on offense to help hit that over, Jeffrey?
Yeah, I would take the over here. I mean, look, you're talking about an Eagles defense that have given up 24 points in each of their games. They let the Washington Redskins score 27 points. Let that settle into your mind. This is probably the worst secondary in the league, and they're banged up. Again, I know it's a mismatch. I know the Eagles are favored by a ton here, but I do feel like the Jets will probably do enough to get into the end zone at least once. And you can give the Eagles, 4 or 5 touchdowns. I kind of like the over in this situation. I wouldn't be shocked if the Jets put up 17.2.
Reed, what do you think?
Yeah, I think to what Jeff was mentioning is that defense in Philadelphia really doesn't have a good secondary, and so they give up a lot of points, and even to a Washington team. Granted, it was week 1. There are, a lot of things can happen in week 1, but we've routinely seen that secondary in Philadelphia not be good. Their front 7 is solid. And their offense, the Eagles' offense, averages 3.5 touchdowns. I mean, you would like to think that the Jets will just hand the ball off a bunch to Le'Veon Bell. That's the part that scares you a little bit, is if this Luke Falk team can get at least 2.5, 3 touchdowns, that's going to be tough. So I'm going to say yes because that number is good.
Rosalie, can the over hit?
Yeah, it absolutely could hit. Let's not forget, too, I mean, we're pretty down on the Jets, but 2 things. Number one is that the Philadelphia, their corners are not that good to begin with, and their top 3 are out, so Robbie Anderson could have some shots this week. I mean, Luke Falk, we'll see if he can make some stuff happen. They've had a week off, maybe they can make something happen. But what I really like is the Jets' 3 defensive touchdowns. Can the offense make it happen? Maybe not, but maybe the defense can with their 3 defensive touchdowns, especially if Miles Sanders doesn't keep it, high and tight.
Julian, wrap us up on this question, buddy.
No, the Jets stink, so I don't think the Eagles are going to score 6 touchdowns, so I'm going to pass here. Have the Jets even scored a touchdown since week 1? Did they score against Cleveland? I don't even remember. I'm genuinely asking this question.
I don't think they did.
They did not. So yeah,
I'm Googling it right now.
The Jets have not scored an offensive touchdown.
Joel Adams had a
only
pick
a
6
field goal
against your
against the
Patriots.
Browns, buddy.
Right, they got 2 fluke touchdowns against the Patriots, special teams and a pick 6 against the backup rookie quarterback. So I don't think the Jets have it in them to get this. The Eagles will do fine, I think, but I'm not really into it.
Okay, well, the Bucs jumping out to a quick lead in LA against the Rams last week. Can they do so again against New Orleans in the Dome this week? Just a heads up, you can get the Bucs at plus 148 to lead after the first half. It's 2 quarters, Julian. How much do you like those odds, Reed?
Oh, I like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense. Finally, Bruce Arians, BA as Rosalie likes to call him. He's got this offense humming. I mean, they're second. Tampa Bay is second in first half scoring, only to the Kansas City Chiefs. What we do not like, though, about the Saints is that their run defense is really stout. Good thing is Tampa Bay, outside of Ronald Jones in some spots,
run the ball.
looking pretty good. This offense in Tampa Bay is looking really good. This is a division game. You would think that they have to score through the air, right? The Saints have to score through the air. They're not going to be able to run too much on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That run defense, again, really strong under Bruce Arians and Todd Bowles there. So I think this is a good one. I like that number for Tampa Bay.
Oakley dokley. Rosalie, they put up 28 points in the first half last week. You think that's enough for them to be leading the Saints?
Yeah, I feel like I'm agreeing with Reed all day today.
Yeah, because you're smart,
Yeah,
Rosalie.
you two are
Which I
good
like.
people. You
We
are
are
both
good
very
people.
good people, though.
The other two?
I like it a lot.
Suspect.
Yeah, everything that Reed said exactly.
Dang it.
The Buccaneers have figured out what they need to do to win, which is keep freezing on the screen. Ugh.
Yeah, I know. Come on, man. Get it together.
Come
Get your
on,
kids
man.
off Fortnite.
I know. So they figured out what they need to do to win. They need to get the ball to Evans. They need to get the ball to Godwin a lot, and they're doing that. Like Reed said, all those numbers. Yeah, Tampa Bay is number 2 in the first half points, and New Orleans is giving away 8.5 at home in first half points. So I like it a lot. Saints allow 300 passing yards a game, 3 touchdowns per game. And in a final note, I'm wearing my red today for my Cardinals because I think they will win in Cincinnati this week. R.A.P. Bill Bidwell.
Yep. Amen to that. Julian, thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I like the Bucs in this one. We've touched on the passing game enough. What we haven't touched on is the Bucs can run. They've got a nice running game going with Ronald Jones, and they have a candidate for Defensive Player of the Year on that defensive line. They're getting sacks. They're forcing turnovers. Tampa's defense has been legit. I think they're a really nice DFS play at 2,200 this week. You look at them, at New Orleans and maybe get scared off. This is a Teddy Bridgewater team that got only field goals against the Dallas Cowboys at home last week. I think Tampa can definitely lead at half. I think they can win this game outright. They're really nice looking +3, +3.5 underdogs.
Check that.
Jeff, we have 50 seconds left in the show. You can have up to 48 of them.
Oh, no.
This is the Jameis Winston rug pull spot. Give me a break. He just about blew the game last week. Were people watching? And then the week before, they did blow the game. This is the Bucs. This is, like I said, this is the rug pull spot. If you are going to bet on them, sure, bet them to lead at half because they're not going to win. It's in home New Orleans. New Orleans defense is going to put a hurt on.
Wasn't that the question? Like, are they going to be leading at after the first half?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I get it. Jeff doesn't really understand.
Good grief, man. Love you, buddy. Minshew Mania, you and me. We have 5 seconds to go here in the show. Thanks for putting up with everybody.